Welcome to part 5 of my GSXR smart conversion. In this video we will be taking apart the body kit, taking off all the body kit again like I did a year ago, just to put it aside so it doesn't get damaged. Some of it will be recut, like the side skirts will probably have exhaust going through them. The front bumper is going to end up being trimmed and cut. The front grille is going to end up having to be extended out. The hood is going to have to be raised up. And in the back, I will be mounting the radiators in the back. There is a little bit of room. Somehow I'll make it work. There's all that room in there. So stay tuned. We got all the front clip off. Got to take off the headlight, take off the bumper. This core support's going away. I'm going to dig into the blower. All this underhood I think is going away. I'm going to have to trim this off nice and clean here somewhere. I'm going to dig out those radiators. It'll give me all kinds of room to start mocking it up. Okay, I mounted the bumper back onto its original bolts without the body. Now I can see I need to design the front frame. So ideally I wanted a frame, steel frame under the bumper, a round tube that just right at this crest. So from the front of the bumper mount, maximum of 11. So I'll just go 11 inches here. And then just match the curve of the bumper. So I'll measure that later. That'll give me a good starting point. I'll just get down there and take off the bumper mounts. I'll be making steel plates that fit right in there with a steel frame that comes out across the bumper and back in. And then up across the headlight back in there, there's another mount. Or actually it's over here. So there's a crumple zone mount, steel frame behind here. So I will make another steel brace that comes off of this, maybe ties into that, angles across here, and that'll be my upper frame that'll come out and across and back in. That'll be the engine mount, the new front hood line. Everything should fit. I've had a couple people ask about driving lights on the US version of the Electric Smart. My car came pre-wired. I just never used them. So there's one here and one over here. Temperature sensor and the crash sensors that were mounted to the bumper. It's going to drain the coolant. Get these radiators out. the body kit off, it really gives perspective as to the size of the tires. Anyway, we've got most everything planned out. I believe I'll be able to take the water pump out, put it in the rear. All I really need to do is take this line, connect it back up to the center, because my chain goes right through here. So it should clear those. On the other side, where it's got the warm water to the radiator, means down here, this is the warm. I can just connect it back up to this return here, and then that'll just go back to the back of the car, whereas I will tie into this one with the water pump and the radiator. So it will just basically be colder water coming up this way, going down to this battery cooler, and then coming back up and just returning to the back, go back through the radiator. I got the steering box pulled forward, unbolted it from there to here, and this is what I had initially planned, just to get it out of the way, make room for the diameter of the sprocket. Once I determine that, I'll make a new steel plate to bolt it. It's just the air conditioning lines are really a pain. I believe this expansion valve here will probably be right in the way of the motor, but maybe not. The problem I have is just the tight bend I'm going to need to put on these two lines. So this one goes down to cool the battery with air conditioning. This one basically came back condensed from the condenser. So I can, if I connect this line, basically connect these two lines, and then in the back I will break the compressor high side, and that's where I'll put the condenser. I just got a lot of lines of T on this thing, and I got to make sure I get them all balanced just right. This is the outside air duct. I think I'm just going to close it off because in Arizona it's always so hot, or it's dry. We don't need outside air. If you want outside air, you roll down the windows. Don't know who the engineer is who buried this nut, but a solution. Took this socket, don't remember what size, I'd machine it down to fit. Then I cut the back off and made it fit a 1-inch wrench. And then the center is a T45. So that socket drops down, T45 through the middle, 1-inch wrench. Okay, I got the spindles kind of just setting in place. I just took the springs off, let the shocks go through for now. I gotta try to mark out where the axle is gonna go through. Take my plasma cutter and just notch these out. And then the diff will go somewhere in here. I'll have to take this heater hose, a coolant line, and somehow really tight 90 out of the way. And somewhere in here is where the sprocket should go through. But I can't really place that until I get both the CV axles coming across the center. Okay, I cut out the initial cuts, just torched it out with the plasma cutter. This side's going to need a little bit more relief because the boot goes through here, so I got to cut the bolt off and open this a little bit more because the boot gets right in the way. But we got it pretty well centered out. I got a center line there, and that's where the chain is going to go through. So I'm going to torch that out next. Here we got the initial cutout for the sprocket. Using our little handy plasma cutter here. Looks pretty good. Alright, we got the initial fitting. A little more trimming over here. Start designing the mount plates. Next we have to fit the engine. I cut off all these studs. I might have to actually cut this out just a little bit. We'll see. Lined up pretty good to that mark there. Alright, I set the bumper back on just to give me an idea of the clearance I have from the firewall out. And, just from the firewall, I have like 23 inches. The engine from the back mount to the front of the header is like 19 and a half. So this is why I say it should fit. I am though going to have to, because I've marked my center line for the CV axles and the diff, so I have chain clearance to the firewall. In order to put the engine where I need to put it, I definitely have to run my chain down. So that water pump has to go. So I'll just be installing an electric water pump. I just hope that once I cut all that out, I can actually fit a chain through there, because I'm going to have to grind away at the block and get rid of all that. I looked at the data sheets and I've looked at the owner's manual, and there's just a drive shaft and an O-ring in there, so I can pop the drive shaft out, make a plug, and should be able to remove the water pump. Okay, got it all cleaned up after all the plasma cutting. What I ended up doing is I got this notched out for the chain sprocket. I cut these parts out because they were raised. Now it's nice and flat where the sprocket goes. Got room for the CV axle out that way, and the other CV axle through there. And I ground off a couple studs. I'll probably grind that one off too, because the motorcycle engine's close. So I cut all the AC lines, capped them off, and I'll work on these heater return lines, and I'll hook them to the battery, which is this one down here. And then this Y will come out, probably in the rear. So if I just hook the battery, coolant coming in, coolant going out, and let everything else be at the rear of the car. Making progress. The next step is actually getting the engine lifted up in there and start designing the brackets. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for the next video.